In the vast, winding corridors of ecclesiastical history, amidst the illuminated manuscripts and incense-stained halls of ancient monasteries, there lingers the whispered name of an order shrouded in enigma, the Order of the Paraclete. Not to be confused with known Cistercian or Benedictine traditions, this secretive monastic society has existed largely in the shadows, its very name evoking the Paraclete, a term in Christian theology referring to the Holy Spirit, the divine advocate and comforter. However, according to scattered accounts and suppressed texts, the order was anything but comforting to the powers of orthodoxy. It is accused of harboring forbidden knowledge, safeguarding lost scriptures, and concealing ancient revelations that could upend the very foundations of Christianity. The origin of the Order of the Paraclete is difficult to trace with certainty, though some historians suggest its roots may lie in the early 12th century, a time of deep theological upheaval. During this period, alternative Christian doctrines, mystical sects, and Gnostic survivals proliferated across Europe and the Near East. The Catholic Church was tightening its grip on orthodoxy in the face of heterodoxy, and inquisitorial suppression had not yet reached its zenith. Amidst this tumult, it is said that a small group of dissident monks and theologians, influenced by early Gnostic teachings and apocryphal gospels, withdrew from the ecclesiastical mainstream. Rejecting the increasing politicization of the Church, they formed a clandestine community in the mountainous regions of Occitania, modern-day southern France, under the spiritual leadership of a mysterious abbot known only as Abbas Lucidus, or the Luminous Father. Abbas Lucidus, if he existed, remains an elusive figure, remembered only in scattered chronicles and esoteric letters. Some claim he was a renegade Templar, others believe he was an initiate of the Cathars who survived the brutal Albigensian Crusade. What is agreed upon is that he possessed a cache of ancient texts, scrolls and codices of uncertain provenance, many of which were considered heretical by the dominant church. These included fragments of the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Thomas, and other apocryphal writings believed to date back to the earliest days of the Christian era. What made the Order of the Paraclete unique was not merely the preservation of these texts, but their interpretation. They believed these writings contained an unfiltered transmission of divine wisdom, one that had been deliberately obfuscated by the institutional church. According to esoteric historians, the order maintained that Christ had not come merely to atone for sin, but to awaken divine consciousness within humanity. The Paraclete, seen not just as the Holy Spirit, but as a feminine principle of divine wisdom, was central to their theology. Echoing ideas found in early Christian Gnostic traditions, they taught that the divine spark was imprisoned in the material world by a demiurgic force, and that enlightenment was the key to liberation. This theology bore strong resemblances to both Valentinian Gnosticism and certain strains of Kabbalah, suggesting possible cross-pollination with Jewish mystics or even Islamic Sufi thought. Whether this was syncretism or independent revelation, the order's theology posed a grave threat to the rigid doctrinal hierarchy of the Catholic Church. Over time, rumors of the order's existence reached Rome. Inquisitorial documents dating back to the 13th century contain vague but chilling references to heretical monks who speak of the feminine Paraclete and bear scrolls of blasphemous origin. One particularly damning entry refers to a manuscript called the Testament of the Light, said to contain a conversation between Jesus and a hidden disciple, in which he disavows the necessity of institutional worship and reveals the true purpose of his incarnation, to awaken the divine Sophia within every soul. The implications of such a document were seismic. If true, it would suggest that the hierarchical church was not the custodian of salvation, but its obstacle. By the 14th century, the Order of the Paraclete had all but vanished from the historical record. Most scholars believe it was destroyed during the latter stages of the Inquisition, possibly during the same campaigns that extinguished the remnants of Cathar and Bogomil resistance. Yet, as with many secretive groups, the absence of evidence has only intensified speculation. In the 18th century, during the Enlightenment's resurgence of interest in alternative theologies and suppressed histories, several Masonic and Rosicrucian writings made oblique references to the order. One such text, The Mirror of the Hidden Flame, claimed that the Paraclete monks had migrated eastward, finding refuge in hidden monasteries in the Caucasus or Anatolia, where they continued to copy and protect their sacred texts. The 20th century brought a new wave of interest in the Order of the Paraclete, particularly in the wake of the discovery of the Nag Hammadi Library in 1945. These Coptic texts, long buried in Egyptian desert sands, revealed that the early Christian world was far more diverse, mystical, and unorthodox than previously believed. The Gospel of Truth, the Apocryphon of John, and other texts mirrored many of the teachings ascribed to the Paraclete monks. This discovery emboldened a new generation of scholars, mystics, and conspiracy theorists who began to argue that the order may have had access to even older versions of these scriptures, perhaps ones that included material lost to time or deliberately excluded by church councils such as Nicaea. In modern times, the Order of the Paraclete has become the subject of increasing fascination among esoteric circles. Occultist authors, New Age seekers, and alternative historians point to enigmatic symbols, doves encircled by flames, or a chalice entwined with a serpent, that appear in unexpected places. On monastery walls in remote corners of Europe, in marginalia of medieval manuscripts, and even in the stained glass windows of certain obscure chapels. They believe these are coded signatures of the order's presence, a breadcrumb trail left by centuries of secret protectors. Some go further, claiming the order never vanished at all, but simply went underground, perhaps influencing other secret societies like the Rosicrucians, the Priory of Sion, or even select inner circles of the Freemasons. What of the lost scriptures themselves, the so-called scrolls of the Paraclete? Stories abound. In the 1960s, a controversial Italian mystic named Roberto Damiani claimed to have seen fragments of these scrolls in a monastery vault near Turin. According to Damiani, the scrolls were written in a hybrid of Syriac and Greek and detailed a fifth gospel that portrayed Mary Magdalene not only as Jesus' closest companion, but as the first true interpreter of the Paraclete's teachings. These claims were never verified and were quickly dismissed by mainstream scholars, yet they fed the growing mythos surrounding the order. There are also persistent theories connecting the Order of the Paraclete to Rennes-le-Château, the infamous French village steeped in mysteries of hidden treasure, coded parchments, and heretical knowledge. Some believe that Abbé Béranger Saunière, the 19th century priest at the heart of the Rennes mystery, stumbled upon a cache of Paraclete texts and encoded their contents in the bizarre architecture and symbolism of his church. This theory was popularized in conspiracy literature and gave rise to links between the order, the Merovingian bloodline myths, and even the controversial claims of the Da Vinci Code. In truth, the Order of the Paraclete walks the razor's edge between myth and possibility. There is no definitive proof of its existence, only tantalizing clues, fragmented references, and a spiritual legacy that refuses to die. Whether they were mystic monks who protected humanity's most sacred truths, or merely a legend conjured by centuries of esoteric longing, their story persists because it touches something deeply archetypal. The idea that sacred knowledge lies buried beneath the layers of dogma, waiting to be unearthed, resonates across cultures and epochs. In a world where truth is often filtered through power, the legend of the Paraclete monks offers an alternative vision, one where divine wisdom is not the possession of institutions, but the inheritance of all souls. If such an order did exist, perhaps its most sacred teaching is not written in any scroll but whispered in the silent chambers of the heart, the eternal call of the spirit to awaken, to remember, and to reclaim the divine light within.